I want to tell you about the perfect day. This is one of my favorite exercises, one of my favorite tools that, it's one of the first things we get done with all clients that I work with. And it'll take you, 20, 30 minutes, and it could totally change your life. So, um, when I started doing this, when I kind of discovered this and started putting it to work, I think it was about 2019, is really when I started thinking about these ideas about manifestation and law of attraction and started looking at that more seriously because some shit in my life started happening that I just couldn't explain. And I mean, at that point, I'd already experienced different types of manifestations and synchronicities like all through my life. But the chain of events that followed after I started doing this is really what made me look at it more carefully and think like what's actually going on here? How does this actually work? Like if something works, there must be a way that it works. Like what are the mechanics behind this? And that's kind of been my obsession ever since then, and figuring that out, and that's what's become this coaching business and all the things I'm doing now. But discovering this was really one of those key moments when things started opening up for me. So what happened was I was back in Sweden. I was staying with my family for like a couple of months, and I had canceled my contract on my apartment here in Bangkok because the rent was like quite a lot, and I would be gone for like 3 months, and I didn't want to have to keep paying rent when I wasn't here. So I'd canceled that, didn't have a place to stay for when I was coming back. And that's kind of the situation that I was in when I started doing this. So I'd heard from multiple people that I'd followed for a long time that they were talking about this exercise called the perfect day. So this isn't something that I came up with, but I decided to, give it a try. And basically the idea is you write down what does an average day in your ultimate life look like from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. What does that day look like? Now, there's really no rules for how to write this, but I do have some pointers and suggestions after doing this with clients for a couple of years. The first thing is, the most important thing about it is how it makes you feel when you read it. So the idea of doing a perfect day is you want to create a vision for your life, something that's kind of like in a story based format. So when you read it, you can live into it, and you can experience what it feels like to live that life as you're reading it, and kind of get into that state, that emotional state that you would feel were you already living that life. Does that make sense? So the writing itself doesn't have to make logical sense. So if you want to, wake up in Bangkok and go for lunch in Paris, you can do that. So whatever just kind of feels good to think about doing, and all the components that you want to include in that perfect day, all the types of experiences that you want to have as part of your daily life. So where do you wake up? What does your bedroom look like? Like, what does your world look like when you open your eyes in the morning? What's the first thing that you think about? What's the first thing that you do? How do you spend your day? How do you spend your time? What do you do? What do you do in the morning? What do you do in the afternoon? Who do you spend time with? What does your work look like and how does it feel? Relationships, health, whatever it might be. Do you work out? Like, how does that feel? What does that look like? And, all the way up till the evening, until the moment your head hits the pillow. What's the last thing you think about before bed? Before you close your eyes. So just get a general picture of that and just try to get it out on paper. And you don't have to get it perfect. Just get a shitty first draft done. Just put some, whatever words come to mind, just put it on paper, read it. notice how it feels, and then you can make some adjustments so it feels better. Now, the only thing that's kind of a don't do, or like what not to do, is don't write anything that brings up a feeling of resistance. So, for example, if you write something that you're not able to believe, maybe you want more money, so you write down that you're like on this fucking, $1 billion yacht, or you're flying a private jet or something like that. And it's just something that's just way out of your realm of imagination, of something that you can't even see as possible. And if you write something that when you read it, it makes you go, oh, that's not possible. Who am I kidding? Yada, yada. Anything that brings up any kind of resistance, you're going in the wrong direction. That's the opposite of what we're looking for. So first of all, don't write anything that brings up resistance, but also approach it from the mindset of you're not reading this or writing this in order to make something happen. Because as soon as you try to control outcomes, as soon as you try to make something happen, then you're shooting yourself in the foot, because now you're coming from the wrong place. So you want to write it and you read it only because it feels good, because it's nice to start your day in that kind of energy. So just kind of be easy about it. Be a little lighthearted about it. It's not a serious thing. As soon as you add that on top of it, you're going backwards. So just do it for the fun of it. Just do it because it feels good. Just do it as a fun experiment to see what happens. When I started doing this, so as I mentioned, I wasn't going to have a place to stay when I returned to Bangkok, and I had visited a friend earlier in the year who had he was living in a townhouse, and that made me think about, maybe I want to live in a house or a townhouse rather than an apartment or a condo, because you get all this space, you get kind of more privacy, kind of more bang for the buck, is what I was thinking. So that came to mind when I was writing my first perfect day. I think this was about August 2019. So I wrote down that I was living in a townhouse. And the other kind of significant thing going on at that time was I had recently, like within the previous year, started DJing. It was kind of the early days of my DJ career. And at that point, I was really not really kind of anybody in the local scene. I was mostly playing like opening sets for like maybe 5 to 20 people. I think only 1 or 2 times that I'd had the opportunity to play for like a full room. I was pretty much like a bedroom DJ who'd gotten a couple gigs. But I wrote down in my perfect day that I wanted to play at not 1 but 2 festivals. And I mean, I don't know if I had any business playing at festivals at that time, but it was something that I desired to do. I'd had friends that DJ'd at different festivals, and I'd been backstage and kind of been part of this whole world, and that's kind of an experience that I wanted to have. So that's what I put down. And then I just started reading this perfect day to myself every day to start my day, and really trying to get into that feeling of what it would feel like to live that life. What would it feel like to live that life? Like, that's what you're going for. So kind of put your energy into it as much as you can. Like, maybe read it out loud to yourself, and read it loudly. Like, put some energy into it, and really feel yourself living that life. Then what happened, about 2 weeks into this, 2 weeks after I started doing this every day, I get a message from that same friend that I had visited in the townhouse, and he was like, hey man, my other roommate is moving out because he's moving in with his girlfriend, and I'm looking for somebody to take that room. Is that something you might be interested in? And I'm like, hey, this is interesting. So 2 weeks after I write down that I want to live in a townhouse, the only person I know with a townhouse asks me if I want to move in. But then I was like, I'm not sure. I'm not really a roommate kind of guy. I'll need to think about it. Yada yada, right? So another month goes by. He messages me again, and by this time I bought my plane ticket back to Thailand. And he was like, hey man, are you still interested? Because I still need someone to take that room. Oh, by the way, the room's going to be available on October 21st. And what I hadn't told him was that my return date to Thailand was October 21st. So the room became available on the exact same day I landed back in Thailand. And then I was just like, all right, the universe wants me to move into this fucking place. So, let's do it. And that's still where I am right now. I'm sitting in that house right now, still living here almost 4 years later. So then what happened? In December, I got booked for Wonderfruit Festival, which was my first time playing at a festival, first time kind of having the experience of building a stage by myself, which was really an amazing experience. Like when I started playing, there was nobody there, but then kind of as I got into it, people kept showing up. Hour and a half, 2 hours later, there's like 500 people, and I basically set up the stage for the rest of the night. So that was just amazing, and that led immediately to more opportunities. It was the first time that a lot of people in the scene really saw me play for the first time, and everything just took off after that. Shortly after that, in March, I got booked to play at Color in the Park, which was at that time my dream gig, because going to this festival, to Color in the Park in 2018, was really what got me into the scene, what really made me fall in love with all of this stuff. And my favorite part of Color in the Park was always the after party stage, and that's where they booked me. So since I started DJing, I always thought, that's kind of my dream gig. I want to play the Color in the Park after party. So that happened. That was in March 2020, and I was like, shit, I'm like, I never intended to be more than a bedroom DJ when I started. I just wanted to learn how to, make my own mixes so I could listen to my favorite music without changing tracks, and just have this, like, that's kind of where I started. And now it's like, less than a year and a half later, I've fulfilled all the dreams I ever hoped to accomplish as a DJ. So that everything just kind of started clicking. And a lot of that really started with this perfect day, of just really defining my intentions of the type of life I wanted to have, how I wanted to live. And every day, starting my day by getting into that feeling of what it would feel like to live that life. So that's it. We're going to talk more about the kind of mechanics of why this stuff works. Funny thing, I mentioned in my previous video that every single one of my clients so far have started experiencing these types of manifestations within sometimes days, sometimes hours, sometimes weeks, or like a month into coaching. But we don't really talk that much about like law of attraction or manifestations usually. But we put certain tools in place, we put certain practices in place, and then these things start happening, and then they start asking me like, wait, what's going on here? So that's usually how that goes. And we're going to talk more about that later in these videos moving forward. But for now, just write your perfect day. Just do it. Get it done. It won't take you that long. And just get some stuff on paper. Maybe set a timer, like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, however long you want to set for yourself. It can be helpful to just get something out on paper, and not get stuck in, I don't know what to write, but just get something out on paper And when something is out on paper, you can make it better later. So don't worry about making it perfect, but just get it done. And then start reading it to yourself every morning, and maybe even before bed. So you also go to sleep in that state, and you'll keep growing that momentum, and you'll start stepping more and more and more into that feeling of feeling like the person who lives the life that you want to live. Make sense? And from that place, when you're feeling the way you want to feel, like when you feel better, you think better, and you make better decisions, you have more access to clarity, and you start getting better outcomes. But yeah, that's it. That's all I gotta say for today. Get it done, and do it, practice it, and let me know what happens. Because shit's gonna start happening. I've seen it happen every time. I used to be more skeptical, but it's been very consistent recently. So let me know how it goes. Put it to work, get it done, and I will catch you next time.